Maybe I'm just a badass when it comes to trains. Oh wait, no I'm not.
One of the most dangerous stunts to do is a crowd scatter. You have to time them just right, and you got no depth perception with something head on. If people go too soon, it looks wrong, and they can't leave it late. It's extremely dangerous for the stunt people as pedestrians, so it's a big responsibility. We're gonna do a complex crowd scatter in an interior next.
Blood Oath is a hard-edged thriller. Here we've got rival gangs fighting for control of the Bangkok streets. The actor I double for is racing against time, speeding down the freeway, smashing through a rigged office building, and jumping out through the window at the end.
What's up everybody, this is Thunder here from HG Central, and welcome to part 3 of Stuntman, where we're now on to the third film, Blood Oath, which for the most part I would say inspires the kind of thriller style films of the works of John Woo from the 90s to early 2000s. There was a brief period of time when he was making movies over here in North America rather than his native, I think it's China or Hong Kong. It could be something else completely. I apologize for if I've gotten it wrong. But John Woo had a very over-the-top style for his movies with just ridiculous stunts and crazy like action, over-the-top scenes, all that kind of stuff. And some of the movies were quite popular for it. Face Off is still probably the biggest that comes to mention, just one of the most ridiculous films I've ever watched, and I love it for that reason. But yeah, this is the first stunt where we got a nice looking, I'd like to say almost like Pontiac Fiero-like car. It looks really nice. I say Fiero because it's got it says USA on the license plate. But this stunt here, this took me quite several tries because it's not that it's necessarily hard. It's that there's a lot of easy mistakes that you can make that can just make goofed out. But this has a lot of things like overtakes and hitting things, and this last part, I kind of screwed up there and I thought I'd have to redo it, but the car flips back over and I'm like, you know what, let's just keep going, because this was like the 11th or 12th attempt I did on this. And there we go. That is office obliteration. I kind of obliterated more than just an office, if you know what I mean. And of course, as you would expect, our reward is that Fiero lookalike car that we were just in, because, well, what else would we have gotten here? We've never driven the car before, so might as well unlock it. Da-da-da. And a new arena toy, a ring, which has fire in it, but doesn't show it here, but it has fire. Anyways, on to the next stunt.
This is a high-speed chase in high-performance cars through the confined spaces of downtown alleyways. There are two cars after me for most of this sequence. In one of the most complex sections, I need to drive up the back of a transporter and jump from the roofs of trucks. Then I have to clear a junction. I should shake my tail by clearing a water jump at the end.
Yep, we get a pretty fancy Nissan Skyline GTR lookalike for this. The funny thing about this car, though, is having actually driven pretty much the majority of the cars, because I've been playing this game since it came out in 2002. What I don't understand is this car is technically slower than the Fiero car that we were just in, which is pretty backwards, because this Skyline should be the quicker one of the two. I don't know. They probably didn't really realize it. This one, I guess, is more peppy for acceleration, but top end, I find that the Fiero goes faster. Doesn't make sense, but that's how it is. Okay, now this stunt sequence, it's got a few tricky moments. Nothing too bad, except when it comes to the last stunt. The last stunt is a little bit ridiculous in terms of how you gotta nail it down, because, well, as you will see once I get around the alley here, that's like 3 times I had to go left into the alley, in case you've been tallying. This jump here, it's easy to flip the car and just completely miss what you're trying to land on, and You don't want to do that, because otherwise you gotta redo the stunt. And our reward is the Skyline GTR lookalike that we were just in, as well as an arena toy being a bus. Yeah. Didn't have much to say here. Next stunt.
We ripped out the 250cc engines on the Tuk-tuks and given them 500s. Should be able to get 0 to 60 in about 6 in these. But they flip pretty easy as it is, so this makes them worse, and the roll cages get a good workout.
This chase is quite unusual because we're using three-wheeled cabs called tuk-tuks. But that still means I need to stay close to the lead to make the chase look as realistic as possible.
Oh hey, Toothless and Whopping, a movie that we did earlier in the game. Yeah, pretty much. So here's where it gets really interesting. In this stunt, as well as the last stunt that you're going to see here, this movie has 4 of them, you drive a tuk-tuk that has a modified engine. As mentioned, it was originally a 250cc engine, now it has a 500cc engine. So it's pretty peppy. It's surprisingly agile too, it's easy to get around corners, and it's quite a lot of fun to drive. That being said, this thing completely hates hitting mostly anything without wanting to flip over. You gotta be extremely careful with this tuk-tuk, as you will see on what I mean in the next stunt, because that's a very interesting case that you will see. But anyways, it's quite an unusual vehicle you get to drive in the game, but I really like it for that reason, I guess. This particular stunt scene, not particularly too hard, mostly just chases, mostly simple stunts, just make sure you get them down right. Took me a few attempts to get it down right, but I did get it down right. And that guy is dead. Like, there is no chance he survived that. I'm not even going to check the inspection scene, because it probably is just revolting gore. And of course, how can you drive the tuk-tuk without winning the tuk-tuk once you've beaten that? So yeah, and a new arena toy, which is a rather small ramp, but there's a little bit of an extra to it. You'll see that, of course, in the bonus video, and on to the next and final stunt.
A box rig is just a landing pad made up of empty cardboard boxes that'll bring you to a safe stop. Because it's never the falling that hurts, it's the stopping. The one we're using now isn't as high as we usually use because it's built into a boat. We're still about 7 or 8 feet off the height we'd normally have for a jump like this.
My tuk-tuk is getting shot at by the chopper here. Most of the chase takes place on the rooftop, but at the end, I need to jump from the jetty onto a passing barge where the box rig is set up.
Righty then, here is the very last stunt. And I had a bit of a pause because I wasn't sure what to say next. Oh well. Now this one is particularly interesting. I consider this to be the hardest of the 4 stunts in the Blood Oath film, but yet it was the only one out of the 3 I managed to do in the first, only out of the 3. Out of the 4, sorry, I can't count anymore. It was the only one out of the 4 that I managed to pass on the first attempt. Technically, it should have been the second attempt, but as you're about to see, I somehow got really lucky. But yeah, this one requires a lot of precise cornering, a lot of speed for the jumps, just not get caught in the explosions. You just got to get it all down, and because of course the tuk-tuk just loves to flip and spin, because admittedly the collision detection in this game is not the greatest. It doesn't take much to get these cars just going a bit crazy. Tuk-tuk's one of the worst cases of it. You can just see how much of a struggle it is. This area, it's easy to get caught, and the helicopter is exploding pieces of the bridge off. I got very close there. Now here comes the interesting part. As I mentioned, the tuk-tuk does not like much physics. I got rolling there. I was supposed to go through that gap. I didn't, and yet I passed it. I way mistimed that explosion because of it, and yet I still passed. And then I made it onto the barge and passed. How? How did I get 100% on this? How did I nail it? I don't understand. And yes, I've been promoted to lead, which means bonus car. Hurrah! And we get some kind of truck with a bit of a bed here or whatever on it as our new car for completing this one. And for our bonus for being promoted to lead, a bigger tuk-tuk with a bigger rear, with for more space, and the closed roof completely. And our arena toy is the pile of cars that we saw in the first arena stunt that we did earlier. Anyways, how about a movie trailer with our stunts, shall we?
they'll slalom, they'll jump fire moves, and finish on a large ramp jump. All the time, dangerously close together.
Oh boy, Lucky O'Sullivan's Irish Hell Drivers. This is particularly a little bit more annoying, actually. Not particularly difficult, just annoying. Basically, throughout the entire thing, except for the very final sequence, you're basically just supposed to be in the yellow square as you're doing all the little stunt sequences, following the other drivers in different formations. If you're not in the yellow square, you don't get the pass for that sequence. Which doesn't sound necessarily too difficult, because it's like, okay, yeah, I just follow the yellow square. Well, sometimes it's difficult to catch back up with the cars sometimes if you make a screw up. Yeah. And that was usually the case of why most people had to restart. For me, it was another issue though. Sometimes they're hard to catch up, but other times they're way too easy to catch up that you end up running into the car. That was where a couple of my failed attempts went towards, including on the final bit of stretch. Coming off a jump, I hit the back of the car I was following. And you're not supposed to hit any of the vehicles you're following, because that just means, well, you gotta redo it again. Yeah, not exactly what you want. But regardless, it's not too difficult, it's just annoying. And it's also definitely a bit longer in length compared to some of the other ones. At least it definitely feels so. And I missed that little ramp there. It was supposed to get me on two wheels because I am dumb. Going through the ring of fire. And I almost failed that one, but I managed to just stay in the edges of the yellow rectangle. And the big jump with the explosion where we all launch at nearly the same time. Some were a bit slow. And I get a little bit hanged on my buddy here. And of course, our bonus vehicle is one of the buses that we'd seen whilst we were doing Blood Oath. So, that is going to cover it for the third movie here in Blood Oath. In the next film, we're going to take a look, or next film and next part, sorry, we're going to take a look at a pretty infamous one for some Stuntman players, which is simply known as Conspiracy. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and take care, and I'll see you again on YouTube's EnterGameAnyone.com.